On today's show, is rebuilding through the draft a realistic path for the LA Clippers to become championship contenders again in a couple of years? Going to be talking about that and more on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. My name is Darian Vaziri, and today we're going to be talking about if Keaton Wagler could be ready to start if the Aspiration investigation continues to lag, what the ceiling of the Clippers' nest of draft picks and young players could be, and answering the question, is building through the draft a realistic route for the LA Clippers to become contenders again? And when I mean contenders, I mean championship contenders. I mean the place that we were kind of in 2024 and prior, 2020 to 2024, like that 5-year stretch where it was championship or bust heading into each season, except for, of course, the 2022 season where Kawhi Leonard was out. Now, my take is no. I think we're going to have to make a play for a big fish. And the reason for that is the picks that we have. Now, before we talk about the picks that we have to talk about what we already have, the players that we already have. And that is Jordan Miller, Kobe Sanders, Yanic Konan-Niederhauser, Keaton Wagler, Baba Miller, Nick Martinelli, Sean Padula. Give or take, that's your core. Now, we'll talk about each one of those players individually and what their ceilings all could be and what that can create altogether. And of course, it's kind of a guessing game. It's all predictions and nothing's accurate. But just making my own prediction, I do not believe that group of players that I just named is going to be able to take the Clippers to the championship contending, tier without any big star coming in. I think that we're gonna need a big fish because the highest prospect there that I named was Keaton Wagler, and everybody's got their doubts about him. And I think Keaton Wagler does have a chance to be a star, but I don't even think the guys that are high on Keaton are projecting him to be a number one on a championship team. So to get to that level, and you do need a number one, we're probably gonna have to make a trade. Now, granted, you might be asking, well, what if we pick one in the future? Now, there are two scenarios, right? There are our draft capital right now before this trade has gone through, and then there's the draft capital after the trade has gone through. So I'm going to read the possibilities of before, and then we'll do after. So as of now, OKC can swap picks with us, right? So we're probably going to have to pick 29th or 30th again next year in the first round, which isn't ideal, and you're probably not getting some franchise changer there. Now, obviously, we picked Yanic 30th with that OKC swap, and we hope that Yanic can be somebody that helps change this franchise, and I think we all have belief in Yanic's potential and what he could do. But, in terms of getting back to championship contending status, I don't think pick 30 is where those players that can be those 1A guys are getting drafted most likely. So 2027 is not great. We have Dallas. We don't have a first round pick in 2028 right now. We then get Dallas, the second rounder. So for the next 2 years, we don't have a first round pick. And then in 2029, we have our own pick, but Philadelphia has the right to swap its 2029 first round pick for the Clippers ones, but it's protected 1 through 3. You never know. In 2028, we could be awful and be picking 1 through 3, and then we don't have to give it to Philly. But considering the Clippers want to stay competitive, I don't think we'll have a top 3 pick in the draft, which means that Philly will then swap picks with us if they are better than us. So we don't even control our own first-round pick in 2029, and then we get Indiana's first-round pick. So that's 2029. We then have our first-round pick in 2030, and then that's all good. But it's still a little too far down the line. You know what I mean? In a couple years, could we be picking really high because of Indiana's pick? I don't know. I don't think that it's realistic. So for me, we're probably going to have to get a big fish. Now, let's say you add Toronto's picks to the mix, right? So then next year, we don't have to necessarily take OKC's pick. We can give OKC's pick to Toronto, and then we take Toronto's pick, right? Because we are likely the worst team of the three, I would think. That puts us probably in the 21 to 22 range. I still don't think that's a franchise changer. We still don't own our pick in 2028, even if the trade goes through. So don't expect anything for the next 2 years, really, because the 2028 draft, that's going into the 2028-29 season. So the next 3 years, if we're just building through the draft with no big fish, we're not going to be a contender for the next 3 years, in my opinion. We know we're not a contender this year, even if the trade goes through. We're not going to be a contender unless... And again, remember, this is just assuming that there's no big fish that we go acquire. 2027, 2028, unless Keaton Wagler is not going to become a 1A, like that. The combination of Keaton Wagler, Darius Garland, Yanic, like that's not going to get us. Brandon Ingram, we're not going to be championship contenders in 2027, 28. And then we don't have a first-round pick in 2028. So 2028, 29, no. I think the best case is maybe the 2029, 30 season with the Indiana pick. If Indiana's bad by then, maybe that's a high pick. We also get our own pick or Philly's pick. So we'll get 2 first-rounders that year. That could be something. And then in 2030, we have a first-round pick. So maybe. And if you add the trade, we have Toronto's pick in 2031 plus our own, and then Toronto's pick in 2033 plus our own. So you'd have to wait till the early 2030s for us to talk about potentially being back in championship contention without a big fish. If we're talking next 3 years, we're going to need a big fish. The question is, will Steve Ballmer and Lawrence Frank be able to be patient through that, right? Because this, let's map it out, right? When Ballmer took over, we weren't a championship contender in my eyes, Lob City, but we were kind of in 2014 when Ballmer took over the team. We still were kind of on the trajectory to let's get closer every year and see what we lack, and then we'll become a championship team as Blake Griffin continues to grow. In 2014-15, that was Ballmer's first full year in charge of the Clippers. We beat the defending champs. We blew a 3-1 lead. If there was any chance to win a championship or to get close to it, or at the very least what I thought was the bare minimum, we got to make the conference finals with this team. And we choked a 3-1 lead to the Houston Rockets. In large thanks to Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan in that Game 6 second half. And of course, J.J. Redick, Jamal Crawford, Matt Barnes went ice cold in those last 3 games. And Glenn Rivers, I don't think that he had the team prepared for Game 5. I think he took too long to call timeouts in Game 6 in that second half run. So we choked. And that's when I figured maybe that was our best chance, but I was still so optimistic at the time as a Clipper fan that I was like, okay, well, we lack depth. Outside of Austin Rivers and Jamal Crawford, we had nothing, whereas Houston with Corey Brewer and Josh Smith, they destroyed us with their depth. Because James Harden, there was no situation where we were going to be able to make we did win a playoff game without Chris Paul, so maybe I shouldn't say that. I was going to say there's no situation where with Chris Paul on the bench we would have done something like that, but we literally won a game against them without Chris Paul. But I will say this, no Chris Paul against San Antonio, we're not winning a game. This was a situation where San Antonio was clearly better than Houston, and we just played a lot better and more clutch against San Antonio than Houston. And home court advantage definitely played a part in that. But going into 2016, I thought, we just got to get some bench players. And we went and filled out our depth. We got Paul Pierce, but that ended up being a flop. We got Pablo Prigioni. We got Brandon Bass. We got Josh Smith. Wesley Johnson. We added a bunch of pieces around, and ultimately it was a season that was hampered by Blake Griffin's injury to his quad, and then he punched the trainer, which made it so that Chris Paul had to literally carry us all season long and somehow got us to the 4th seed, only for us to go up 2-0 in a series or 2-1 in a series. We did lose that Game 3 against Portland with CP3 and Blake, and then they get injured for the rest of the series. But yeah, very, very disappointing. So that was that season. And then that's when I knew 2017 because the Warriors got together with KD. I was like, it's kind of, I think 2016-17 was kind of similar to how the Clippers felt the last 2 years after Paul George left, where they were like, we can't win the championship, but we could still be very competitive. And I think in 2016-17, it was like, we can get the 2 seed. Maybe we can still get to the conference finals. Because I was like, we're not beating Golden State. They've won 73 games. They're adding Kevin Durant. We could maybe, because Tim Duncan retired, get to that conference finals. Because now OKC's out of the mix. And it was crazy because we started the season so well. If diehard Clipper fans will remember, 2016-17, we were like 11-1 at some point, or 11-2. And I remember going to CSUN. I was at CSUN that year. And I just remember thinking, like, we might actually get to the conference finals this year. And then the injuries started rolling in after that game against Washington. And then, boom, we had a stretch where we had CP3 and Blake out, managed the 4 seed, lost to the Jazz after Blake Griffin hurt his toe. So then it took 2 years, just 2, to go from retooling to championship contention again. 19-20, contention. 2020-2021, contention. Kawhi tears his ACL. We take that year off. It's like a gap year. 2022-23, going into the year thinking it's contention, coming out unserious from training camp. So that was just a failure. To me, by far the most disappointing season in Clipper history, 2022-23, even more so than this past season. No doubt about it for me. Because we still had belief we could win a title. We didn't have belief we could win a title going into this year. We just thought maybe we could win a series again. 2023-24, contention. You don't make a move for James Harden to be your third option without trying to contend for a title. So now, after Paul George left, last year it was stay competitive. We can't trade Kawhi. Nobody wants him coming off of surgery. Let's see what we can do with this retooled team in the Intuit Dome. And then last year, same thing, right? We improved our roster. They weren't, like Lawrence Frank stopped saying the words championship the last 2 years. They kind of knew that window had closed. So now that we know it's even more closed and we're really making moves to retool, how long does Ballmer stay in this? Because right now we're not going to sell out a lot of games next year. We're going to sell out big matchups like every other average team. It's not going to be, like we might sell out opening night. We're not selling out against Portland. We're not selling out against Charlotte. We're not selling out even maybe against Minnesota. Although Minnesota with LaMelo and Ant, a lot of kids could like that matchup. But we're selling out against the Lakers, the Warriors, the Celtics, the Knicks, the 76ers. You know, these are the teams we're going to sell out against. So how long can Ballmer put up with that before wanting to make a big move? I think you got to be careful. But coming up, let's talk about what the ceiling could be if all those players, our young guys, reach their potential. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp has been a widely used online therapy platform, and today the focus is on why so many people continue to choose it. If you're curious, you can actually see what people are saying by visiting betterhelp.com/reviews, where real customer reviews are updated every day. BetterHelp has an average live therapy session rating of 4.9 out of 5. Based on more than 1.7 million client session reviews and hearing directly from people who have used the service, helps paint a clearer picture of why so many continue to recommend it. More than 6 million people globally have used BetterHelp. To get started, all you got to do is answer a few questions, get matched with a therapist based on your needs, and if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time. See the reviews, see what stands out, and see if BetterHelp is right for you. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's better, HELP.com/lockedonnba. All right, Clipper Nation, talking about if the Clippers can successfully become a championship contender again, strictly through the draft and young players. And I think the answer to that is no as of now. We just don't have an, what's the word I'm looking for? Attractive enough draft capital situation in the next couple of years to kind of justify a take like that, in my opinion. We're going to need a big star. And what would be ideal is you have a core of young guys you've developed. You kind of need that 1A guy to get you back into the hunt, and you get that 1A guy. Kind of like OKC, right? Obviously, they went through a rebuild, a full rebuild, and I'm not saying we're going to have to do that. But like Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, homegrown, and then SGA kind of felt homegrown because he came after his rookie year, but technically he wasn't. And then, I mean, the Celtics, they were homegrown. The Denver Nuggets, they were homegrown. Same with Golden State. Milwaukee's 1A guy was also homegrown. But I guess a situation like New York, Jalen Brunson got there, kind of became that guy. They didn't actually do much developing, though, with this New York team because OG Anunoby developed on Toronto. He was already a good role player when they traded for him. Mikal Bridges, same thing, developed in Phoenix, was on Brooklyn. They were already good. Karl-Anthony Towns was an established star. So the Knicks are kind of a team that is very rare in NBA history where they don't really have homegrown guys. Everyone kind of came from somewhere else, kind of reminiscent of that 2020 Lakers team, who's the only other team like that. But yeah. And then, so let's look at the ceiling, right, of all these guys. Let's start with the guy who's been with us the longest, which is crazy now, that our longest tenured Clipper, if the Kawhi Leonard trade goes through, is Jordan freaking Miller. Jordan freaking Miller would be the longest tenured Clipper. Jordan Miller, to me, his ceiling is... See, here's what I think, right? If he wants to be a role-playing starter on a championship-level team, he's got on-ball scoring creation. Like, that's good enough, but he needs to become better at catch-and-shoot threes because I don't think Jordan Miller is going to be a star in this league. I just don't think his jumper and his his handle's good, but I don't think his shot making, jump shooting, and handle are good enough to be a star. And he's also fairly skinny, but he's deceptively strong. And I don't think his passing or defending, there's nothing that's star from him. I think, I'll tell you what are star qualities in him. Drawing fouls, finishing off 1 foot, finishing through contact, his balance. I think those are things that are as good as almost any player in the league for him. But I don't think Jordan Miller is going to be a star. Now, if he proves me wrong, I would be so happy to be wrong because this is a guy who was a second-round pick and was waived last year before Summer League and then earned his way back to a contract. So it would be great. But for me, I see Jordan Miller as a guy that can create shots for you off the bench, unless he gets better at shooting threes. Because the main thing you want around stars are guys that can catch and shoot from three at the wing position and defend. And right now he can't do either of those things well enough for me to be a starter, even on our team. So for me, Jordan Miller's ceiling is like a 13-point-a-game guy, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, come off the bench, get to the line, create some offense for you on a really good team. He can start on a bad team. I think he can. But in the context of getting back into a championship conversation, I think Jordan Miller at best is a really good bench player. Kobe Sanders. Now, I'm a little bit higher on Kobe Sanders' role player potential to be able to catch and shoot from three and play some defense and cut here and there. So I think Kobe Sanders' potential could be like a slightly poor man's Mikal Bridges kind of guy. Not as good of a defender, but can defend, can hit the open three, can attack closeouts and hit the mid-range. So for me, that ceiling could be a starter on a very good team. I don't know about a starter on a championship team, but a starter on a very good team. I think Kobe Sanders could be that. Then we talk about Yanic. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Yanic could be a star. I don't know about a superstar, but his handle, his jump shooting potential, and his vertical thread, his athleticism, I think all of that with the high IQ, and he keeps getting stronger, he could be a star in this league to me. I really believe that. I really believe when he puts it all together, he could be a guy who sets good screens, catches a bunch of lobs, gets offensive rebounds and finishes around the basket, and can create his own shot a little bit and can pick and pop as well. I think he can be a guy that can do a lot of that. Now, passing, and then rim protection as well. I think he can block shots. Now, his passing, his decision-making, that's something that we're going to have to see. But I really do believe that Yanic could be a star. So let's just say, for the sake of this thinking half glass full, we're going to go with, or I don't know. Just to be optimistic, I'm going to say Yanic becomes we're going to say better than a DeAndre Ayton for sure. I don't want to say Bam Adebayo because Bam Adebayo is an all-time great Miami Heat player. Who's a good center comp? Not Cat. I think that's a little much. Who's below that? Like, who could be somebody below that level player? Yanic Konan-Niederhauser. I'm saying better than like a Mitchell Robinson. Okay, let's say like a Jalen Duren level player. A Jalen Duren level player with a little bit more of a jump shot. Let's say like a slightly above that. Okay, so a star. Then we go to Keaton Wagler. Obviously, I'm hoping he could be a star, but let's just say, not to get too ahead of ourselves, a low-level all-star, right? Then you have Baba Miller, who I think could be really good. Let's say, just for the sake of this, he could be like a Jabari Smith level player. That altogether is not championship. So, and I was being pretty generous there. Now, of course, these guys could exceed my expectations. Nick Martinelli, let's say Nick Martinelli becomes a Sam Hauser. That would be great if he can become 3-and-D like Sam Hauser. He has a little more on like self-creation, Martinelli, but if he can defend like Sam Hauser, that would be great. Even then, we're not a championship team. So we're going to need a big fish or another player. But coming up, going to be thinking about the possibility of Keaton Wagler starting. I talked about on the last show, if the Aspiration situation doesn't get resolved, it could benefit Keaton Wagler. But is he ready to start? What would that look like? I'm going to be talking about that coming up.
The problem of finding clothes that you can live in all day, be comfortable, and do whatever you need to do, whether it's just chilling, going to meetings, playing golf, being on the move, that problem has been solved by Cozy Earth. The everyday polo is the answer. It's lightweight, built to move with you, just easy to wear everywhere. I've got it on right now, and it's fabulous. Plus, the Cozy Earth Essential Socks, they're exactly what the name suggests. Soft, supportive, comfortable enough that you stop thinking about them halfway through the day. Plus, Cozy Earth backs everything with a 10-year warranty and hassle-free returns. So if something isn't quite right, you're covered. That makes trying them for yourself an easy decision. I've got the Cozy Earth Everyday Polo in blue and in black. Check them out at CozyEarth.com. Use the code LOCKEDON for 20% off. That's right, Locked On for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, please mention you heard about it right here, CozyEarth.com.
All right, Clipper Nation, talking about what our road to, contention again looks like. And I think it's going to have to come with a big fish. I don't think that just stacking up on young players and draft capital will be enough. We just don't have a good enough draft situation. I just tried to kind of estimate what. And here's the thing, right? Like Baba Miller could become better than Jabari Smith. That would be great. But the odds are, the odds aren't with him, considering he's a second rounder. Jabari Smith was a lottery pick. Was it the third or fourth pick in the draft? But, if Baba Miller can be as good as Jabari Smith, I'll take it. Now, Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler is projected to come off the bench this season. But if the Aspiration investigation conclusion does not come out and we're still in this stalemate, or it goes to arbitration and Brandon Ingram does not report to the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is not allowed to play, then the most logical thing to do would be to have Keaton Wagler start and get those reps and basically just trial and error. You know what I mean? Work through his mistakes. Now, the thing is, would it be the best for the Clippers trying to win games? No. It would be potentially a rough process, right? We're going to lose. It's definitely going to still be a lot of Darius Garland. And Keaton Wagler off the ball with Garland is going to be really good. I think that's going to work right away. Like, he's going to be able to just get open shots, hit open shots, play off of him, which is different than what we saw in Summer League because he never played with somebody like Darius Garland in Summer League. So he'll be able to get those shots. But we're still, when Garland's out of the game, especially going to need him for some on-ball stuff. And remember, this hold potentially doesn't allow Benedict Mathurin to get re-signed. And that's going to put even more of a creation weight on Wagler, which again, I think this is fantastic long term, but it's going to hurt us in the short term. We're going to struggle to score. He's going to probably go through some growing pains. However, by mid-season, let's just say we're 30 games in and we still haven't had a resolution. Brandon Ingram is still not on the Clippers, and Kawhi's not playing. By game 30, let's say Keaton Wagler doesn't have any major injury or something, he's going to start to figure things out, I believe. I think he's that kind of player where the game will slow down for him and he'll find his way, just like he did in college. He just seems like that kind of problem solver, that kind of thinker of the game, and a guy that's going to put in the work. So, I think Wagler, I'm not going to say not ready to start, because I don't think everyone, when they get, every rookie when they start isn't necessarily ready, but they're going to be ready one day, and eventually they got to start. And I don't think it's going to be so bad that he's bringing down the lineup so much if he starts. I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't. But yeah, Wagler and Garland defensively, that could be a little problematic. You're definitely going to have to surround him with a Derek Jones or a Chris Dunn, and then Rui Hachimura and Brook Lopez next to them. Defensively, it's not going to be good. Offensively, we should be solid. We should be a lot of threes. Brook Lopez, Rui Hachimura, Keaton Wagler, Darius Garland. That's definitely some firepower offensively. But defensively, a lot is left to be desired to some degree there. So I think Keaton Wagler is fine to start. I really do. It's going to be a process, though. It might cost us our playing spot. Let's put it that way. But long term, I think it'll be good. I just hope. Remember, I don't want the trade to be held up. I want this to go through. I want us to get our picks. I want Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick come in and get it, acclimated and whatnot. So you can follow me on Twitter at @DimeDropper_LA. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at DimeDropperPod. And of course, Dime Dropper on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe for all things LA sports, LA content, Clipper content, NBA. Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video. Let's get to 9,000 subscribers before training camp. And of course, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.